astrologer Courtney Ingham here. Thank you for joining me for my daily astrology transmissions. Please note, timeframes for the transits mentioned are always in Eastern Standard Time. And here's today's transit transmission. Hello, Astro friends. This is your Astro report for the week of Monday, June the 5th through Sunday, June the 11th. And I wanted to start this week with an overview on the lunar aspects that are going on this week. For this entire week, we are actually in a third quarter lunar phase. And this is because we just recently had a full moon over the weekend on Saturday. I was talking to a friend over the weekend about where the moon can be seen rising. And I looked into the different lunar phases so that I could talk about that a little bit today and help her to understand where she can look in the sky at this time to see the moon rising. So at this time, if you look to the east around sunset, you should be able to see the moon rising. And that'll rise a bit later each night through this third quarter phase. And the third quarter phase, this is the time of the lunar phases that corresponds to the culmination of plans. It's a phase of maturity, or when things have fully ripened and now we are taking everything in. We are just receiving what we have worked for. There is such a thing called lunar gardening. During this lunar phase, the third quarter phase, things that we could be planting are biennials, perennials, bulbs, root plants, crops that winter over, trees, shrubs, berries, onions, potatoes, rhubarb, winter wheat, and grapes. And I do have some potatoes that need to go in, so I will be taking some time this week to put potatoes in. My son and I are actually volunteering once a week at a farm, and last week that is something we were doing. We were prepping potatoes. So good reminder for anyone out there that's got a garden and wants to know how to work with these lunar cycles to optimize growth. You could put in some of those this week if you're planting. So as far as the lunar transits for this week, we are starting off Monday with the moon in the sign of Capricorn. This could be feelings of wanting to get things organized, and it could come also with a bit of pessimism. But you may find that you're very business oriented and you want to get done some things that you've left on the back burner and haven't really taken care of. It'd be a great time to take care of that. And then on Wednesday, the moon is going to move into the sign of Aquarius. We may feel more rebellious, prone to abrupt actions. We may even receive abrupt or sudden insights during this energy. It's a great time to do something new and be unique, and to break out of molds, break out of ways of being that have become a pattern for you. It's a time when we could be really inspired or have to take urgent action as well. And then we are actually having the moon on Friday move into the sign of Pisces. And this is a time when we may feel the need to escape reality. And we may find ourselves sleeping more, wanting to meditate, pray, be more spiritual. And we also might find that we feel more compassionate and sensitive and also intuitive. So you could use the phases of the moon and the moon's transits through these signs this week to tune into these energies and even plan accordingly to, get your projects done Monday and Tuesday, because you're going to have energy towards that. But then as we move into Wednesday, we're not going to want to do things that we usually do. We're going to want to break out of those boxes and do something very different. And by Friday, which is kind of perfect, right? We're moving into that Pisces moon energy. We're going to want to relax. We're going to want to be done with the real world work, practical things. We want to escape. We want to focus on maybe more spiritual things as well. And then on Sunday, actually, the moon moves into Aries, and this is very bold energy. This can also be impulsive. We may find that we feel argumentative. We may feel protective. We may want to spend time doing things for ourselves, be very self-oriented. Be aware of getting stressed out in that Aries energy, and starting too many things that you may overwhelm yourself with. So those are the lunar cycles. Now I'm going to move into the planetary transits for this week. On Monday, along with our moon being in Capricorn, we have Venus moving into the sign of Leo. This is really beautiful energy for a few reasons. Number one, Venus in Leo wants to have fun. She values connecting and having a good time. This is also really big creative energy. We're getting juiced up in regards to our creative energy with Venus being in Leo. And also because these early degrees of the fixed signs, which would be Leo, Aquarius, as well as Taurus, have been receiving a lot of intense energy. And so Venus, who is a benefic planet, is going to be lightening this energy a bit in the very early degree points of the fixed signs. And that would really just be the first few degree points. So if you have any planets or points 0 to 3 and any of those fixed signs I just mentioned, might feel better. And then we also have Venus again in Leo opposing Pluto, who's still at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Now, this can kind of go both ways. It really depends on where it's happening in your chart and other aspects potentially, but Venus being the relationship sign, Pluto being intense and passionate and powerful, it could be really good, like sexy relationship energy. And it could also be oppressive. It could feel like, your relationship with potentially your boss or somebody else. It's just feeling really confining, really overwhelming. Maybe there's a lot of control issues that are coming up in this dynamic. And it also could be just becoming aware of existing control and power dynamics that really aren't working for you as they're, unearthed in this energy. We do have Pluto in retrograde, which means things are being reviewed during this time and may resurface. So these are also, it's a time for realization. So all the RE words are going to come through strong while Pluto's in retrograde and making aspects to other planets. So just be aware of that. We might find that we realize what lies below the surface in relationships, and that's showcasing for us. Now, the energy of Tuesday is pretty light, so we'll skip on to Wednesday, where we have that moon in Aquarius, and we're feeling rebellious, potentially ready to break out of molds and do something new. We then move into Thursday this week. Then we have Venus making some more aspects. Venus is like the star of the show. She's in Leo, and she's really moving. Venus is squaring the North Node in Taurus. And Venus being a sign of relationships, and also our finances. This could be a conflict that comes up in regards to either of those areas that shows us basically that in order to really move forward with what we're here to do, we need to make some kind of adjustment. So in other words, we may realize that there's a relationship that is really prohibiting us from moving forward. There's a disharmony in regards to our finances that is not aligned with our path forward. And this conflict is going to be brought up so that we can resolve it. On Friday, we have the moon in Pisces, and that works really well with a moon void of course that will be happening in the early hours of Friday morning. And that is a time when it's not good to really make big plans anyway. And in the energy of moon in Pisces, as described earlier, we're probably not going to really want to be motivated to make big plans and, do things like that. Later in the evening, we have Mercury in Taurus sextiling Neptune in Pisces. And this is such beautiful energy of receiving intuitive downloads and messages that could potentially give us good and helpful and practical information about our reality. And that's because Mercury is still in Taurus at this time, and that represents the practical reality. And of course, Neptune is in Pisces, and that would represent the downloads, the energies of receiving this insight and information. And on Saturday, we have the Sun in Gemini sextiling Chiron in Aries. And this could very well come across as us feeling empowered to address or look at our wounds, that's represented by Chiron, our healing a little differently. We see things with new eyes. And of course, that Chiron energy in Aries often really resents being vulnerable. So perhaps in the energy of this sextile, which is a beneficial aspect happening between these two, we are able to see our wound with new eyes. We are able to look at it, shine our light upon it, and perhaps we're going to see some new way of addressing it, some new way of healing. Perhaps it's a new healing regime. Perhaps it's just feeling empowered by it and not feeling so disempowered by it. So there's some kind of clarity coming through there. Aspects to Chiron from the Sun may be quite common. It's unique in Gemini because in Gemini, there's definitely the sense that we could get a new clarity or new understanding of our wounds. On Sunday, we have Pluto making its way back into the sign of Capricorn as it's in a retrograde. So we know this energy of Pluto and Capricorn very well. It's spent a long time there, and now it's retrograding back over these points. These late degree points of Capricorn are a really big deal because Pluto's been hovering around here for quite a long time. And now we are going back over these points. And Capricorn represents, the energy of structures, of top-down power. So with Pluto having been there in Capricorn for so many years, we were really understanding power and control dynamics in these top-down structures. And now we're reviewing what went down. And I mean, that's pretty obvious, like the power and control aspects that went down in the last few years. So we are going to be spending some time now just in review of those dynamics. Then also on Sunday's a big energy day, by the way. We have Mercury moving into the sign of Gemini, where it's very happy. It rules Gemini. Our mental processing faculty, our logical abilities are going to be empowered by this. We are going to be clear thinking. This is definitely a help to our cognitive abilities. And it could also contribute to getting information, revelations, things coming to light, especially with that Pluto retrograde energy. Those two happening on the same day, that's kind of a big deal. I think we're going to get something that we may not have gotten before. On Sunday, we also have Venus squaring Jupiter. Venus again is in Leo. Jupiter is in Taurus. Now, Venus square Jupiter. Squares aren't usually seen as harmonious. However, when you're involving the two great benefic planets, it can be very positive. And, Venus squaring Jupiter, this is going to feel really positive. This is going to be like a boost in our optimism. We may feel very social in this energy. Now look out for overindulging in this energy. So overindulging in all things Venus, because Jupiter expands any energy that it touches. It's going to expand the energy of Venus, and it could be that we overspend, that we overindulge in some of the luxuries like eating or, just partying a little bit too much, especially with that Venus energy being in Leo and liking to be social and liking to have fun. We might want to just make sure we're not overdoing it in this energy. But it's a very beautiful day, and it could even be considered a lucky day. So it might be good to take advantage of that incoming beautiful energy, but don't go too far. Make sure you're putting some limits on things, or that, you've got some kind of way of making sure you don't overindulge and overdo it. So those are the big energies for this week, and I will be back every day with your daily reports. Make sure you're subscribed so you will get a notification of when those are dropped. They'll come directly to your email. It's very convenient, and it is free to subscribe. And finally, I wanted to say that I am going to be at the Olean Holistic Healing and Wellness Fair on June 25th, and I am taking signups right now for my 20-minute $20 Astro readings that I'm offering. This is not a complete natal chart reading, of course, but it will give you quite a good insight into your chart. It's amazing how much information I'm able to get out in just 20 minutes. It's going to be very, very helpful for anybody that is new to astrology, new to their charts, and just wants to find out a little bit more and dip their toes in. You can sign up with me by emailing me. If you check out the show notes below, information on how to do that is listed there. And I will be back tomorrow with your Astro report. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to this astrology forecast. If you enjoyed it, I encourage you to like or comment and share it with your friends and encourage them to subscribe. If you'd like to find out more about my astrology readings, you can go to courtneybook.wixsite.com/astrology. There you'll find a list of the readings that I offer.